Today, we're going to talk about something that's tough, but so important. How to protect the older adults in our care. Whether you're a family member or a professional caregiver, maybe in an adult foster care setting, this is for you. Let's dive in.
So let me just start by asking you a question, straight up. If you saw the signs of elder abuse, would you even recognize them? It's a tricky question, right? Because the signs are often not what we think they are, and being able to say yes to that question can literally change a life.
And we need to be able to say yes because the scale of this problem is, well, it's huge. Studies suggest that about 10% of people over the age of 65 have experienced some form of abuse. Think about that. That's 1 in every 10 older adults. It could be anyone's parent, neighbor, or friend.
But you know, what's even more chilling is this number. For every 14 cases of elder abuse, it's estimated that only one, just one, ever gets reported to the authorities. That means the vast majority of this is happening completely in the dark.
And that's really what we're talking about here in this first part. This isn't just a few bad situations. It's a hidden crisis. It's a problem that grows in silence, when people don't know what to look for or are afraid to speak up.
So, what is elder abuse exactly? Well, the World Health Organization has a really solid definition, but I want you to focus on that one key phrase, an expectation of trust. That's the heart of it. This isn't a stranger on the street. It's a betrayal. It happens in relationships that are supposed to be the safest.
Okay, so let's look a little closer, because elder abuse isn't just one single thing. It can show up in a lot of different ways. And as a caregiver, knowing what these faces of abuse look like is absolutely the first step to spotting when something is wrong.
So, it's generally broken down into these 5 main categories. You've got physical, psychological, and sexual abuse, which are maybe what we first think of. But then there are 2 others that can be much harder to see: financial abuse and neglect.
Let's start with financial abuse, because it is one of the most common and honestly one of the most devastating forms of mistreatment. It can completely wipe out a person's life savings and their independence, all without leaving a single bruise. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it could be someone just using a credit card without permission. Or it could be something more sinister, like forging a signature or pressuring an older adult to sign a will or a deed they don't really understand. These are real, tangible actions you can keep an eye out for. Okay, so if this is happening all the time, why isn't it more obvious? That's what this next part is all about. We're going to explore how elder abuse can be hidden in plain sight, often disguised by stereotypes about aging and some really complex situations.
This quote, this says it all, doesn't it? Think about how often something like a bruise or a fall is just written off as, oh, that's just part of getting old. That single dangerous assumption can create the perfect cover for abuse to just continue, completely unchecked.
And the risk factors? They paint a really complicated picture. On the one hand, an older adult might be more vulnerable because of dementia or social isolation. But on the other hand, a caregiver might be dealing with incredible stress, burnout, or their own health issues without any support. When those 2 sides come together, it can be a perfect storm.
And we really have to talk about dementia for a second, because it adds such a difficult layer to everything. A person with cognitive impairment might not even know they're being abused, or they might not be able to tell anyone. And the most heartbreaking part, even if they do manage to report it, there's a tragic chance they won't be believed.
All right, we've defined the problem. We know why it's so hard to see. Now for the most important part of this whole guide. Let's get practical. Let's talk about the actual tools and warning signs we can use to move from just being aware to actually taking action.
You know, sometimes the most powerful tool you have is just a simple, direct question. When you can find a quiet, private moment, asking something like this can open a door that was locked shut. It's a gentle way to offer a lifeline.
Here's another really powerful one. Asking about comfort can be less intimidating than asking about abuse. It lets the person talk about their feelings, about being scared or uneasy, without having to make a direct accusation against someone they might depend on.
And of course, beyond asking, you have to use your own eyes. You're looking for physical signs, sure, but you're also looking at the whole story. Why was there a delay in getting that injury looked at? Does the explanation for it even make sense? And pay close attention to how they act around their caregiver. Fear is a really loud signal.
So seeing the signs is one thing, but it's only half the job. If you suspect something is wrong, you have a duty to act. This last section is all about what you do next. It's about empowering you to take clear, confident steps to protect someone who needs it.
The game plan is actually pretty straightforward.
First things first, if you think someone is in immediate, life-threatening danger, stop what you're doing and call 911. For everything else, your go-to is your state's Adult Protective Services, or APS. They're the agency that investigates these cases. And all along the way, write down what you see. Your notes could be crucial.
And this is so important to know. You can do this safely. A lot of people don't report because they're afraid of retaliation, especially if the person they suspect is family. That's why almost every state lets you report to APS completely anonymously. They will protect you.
Now, if you're a professional caregiver, this isn't just a moral choice. It's very often the law. Most states have what are called mandatory reporting laws. That means if you even suspect abuse, you are legally required to report it. You don't have to prove it, you just have to report the suspicion.
Which brings us to our last thought. Reporting is what we do when the harm is already happening. It's the response. But the bigger question for all of us is, how do we build relationships and support systems that are so strong and so full of trust that abuse can't even find a crack to get into in the first place? That's what we really need to think about. Thank you so much for your time today.